Do you like that? I ordered that. Is this what it sounds like when your wife's talking? Y'all already got it figured out, guys? How you need to respond? Yes, ma'am. No, ma'am. You're right. I am wrong. There you go. Okay, if you want to have a successful marriage, that is how you do it. I put this on the floor last night with my dogs, and I should have videoed that. They could not figure that out. And I said, Lynn, quit talking just for a minute so that I can have some fun with the dogs, I had an idea today. We're going to talk about words, but not talk about words. We're going to talk about how to listen. Okay, that's going to be interesting for most of you. Did y'all hear what I said? Oh, stop it, Lynn. Do you hear what I said? We're going to listen. It'll quit in a minute. All right, you're going to listen. My brother said this series was perfect for me. And I don't know why he would say that. I have no idea why he would say that, me and my big mouth. So I want you to do me a favor. I didn't say you and your big mouth, okay, because I think that would have been like you would have been mad. I don't want you mad. So say this with me. Me and my big mouth. You want to try it again now that you're in the room? You ready? Okay. Me and my big mouth. Today we're going to discover who has the biggest mouth. Would it be the women or the men? Do you like that? Because I am here to mess you up today. Not really. I'm not going to do that. I do want to talk about some words, though, because I did some research. I've told you this before. But we're going to learn how to listen. I don't know if you can even say that word. Listen. That's what we're going to learn. But right now, let's talk about the words. You want to do that? There's a noticeable difference already, if you'll notice, that the men say about 12,000 words a day. This is not a week, by the way. This is a day. Okay? And the women are around 25,000. Now, you can find out whatever survey you want. We do know one thing. Women talk more than men. Does everybody understand this? And this is a problem in the household. If you don't know what you're doing, men. And the reason why men don't use as many words is because we don't need them. We can just make sounds. Somebody will say, how was your golf game? Yeah? Oh, we're good. So we don't need to express ourselves as much as the women do. And the men mostly use all their words up at work. So men, let me help you if you're married or going to get married. If you think your fiance is talking a lot now, they will talk more. Because it is 24/7 now happening. So here we go. So the men talk about, let's say, 12,000 words. They use them all up at work. So you get home, and the women have about 10,000 left. And they're going to express them and put them on you. And so you have to be able to handle that, because men will come home, and the women will say, let me tell you this. The women will say, how was your day? And you'll say, watch this. I'm going to form a word. Good. That's it. Anything new happened to you today? No. That's how we work. What's really interesting about women is my wife will do this to me, and she's listening, so I have to be very careful what I say right now. Everybody understand that? Wonderful and glorious and all that. So she's listening. So I'll go play basketball on a Wednesday morning. All right, we used to do that. We're about to start again. So I got there and play basketball. I come home. I'm exhausted. I sit down for a minute. She says, how was the basketball? How was your game? Good. Then she wants to know, did you talk to anybody? Did y'all talk about family? What? Guys, listen, we don't talk. We play basketball. Does everybody understand? But they won't know the details. I'll go play golf. And she says, what did y'all talk about? Golf. We didn't look at pictures on Facebook. We played golf. But it is funny, you need to know, that women love the details. Women love the details. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to try to save you before anything happens. I'm going to try to save everybody in the room when it comes to their words and how to listen. Because James talked about it, and we'll talk about him in just a minute. So we understand that we like to talk. Has everybody got that? We like to talk. We know how to speak, but do we know how to listen? We know how to speak, but do we know how to listen? When I was in kindergarten, just wasn't that long ago, let's say, they would do this. When the hand goes up, y'all ready? When the hand goes up, the mouth goes shut. Remember that? So if you're going to listen, and I'm going to give you some hints coming in, if you're going to listen, you're going to have to stop talking. Does everybody understand? So, because everybody wants to talk. And it's really interesting about listening is that somebody will be talking and you'll be thinking about what you're going to say instead of listening to what they're saying. And James says that we need to be quick to listen and slow to speak. So you need to stop talking when your wife is talking. You need to at least pay attention to what's happening and turn the TV off, guys. Just throwing it out for you, trying to save your life right now, trying to save your marriage. So we have to think about that. So we know how to speak. Do we know how to listen? And James said this. Now, if you're watching online and paying attention to all of what's happening, even if you're not following Jesus Christ or you're not really sure about the Bible, this is going to help you. So this is really going to help all of us if we pay attention today. This can change your life. The next 4 weeks can really change your life if you pay attention on how to do these things. So we do know that he says, quick to listen, slow to speak. So I don't know how you listen quick. It's kind of like quick to speak, slow to listen. That's us. We like to talk. And so if somebody has an idea, wants to express themselves, we're not really listening. And I remember doing this in the staff. Our staff will have an idea, and we're in a staff meeting. They get so excited. They're writing on boards. They're just going crazy. And so I raise my hand. And they say, hold on a minute. Pastor has a thought. And that's how I get to speak. And so some of you need to raise your hand at home just for a moment and say, if everybody will just stop. Because we want to be heard, right? We want to be heard. We know this to be true because of social media. We want to be heard. We know this because of Facebook, all those things. We want to be heard. So we have to understand that. So James says, quick to listen. In other words, that's your first thought. If somebody's going to share something with you, you're going to say, all right, what do you want to say? And you quick to listen. You stop. You pay attention. I've tried this with a teenager. Still working on it. I'll let you know about that in a minute. So here we go. We want to be heard, and we want to be understood. But here's the thing. If I'm going to hear you, you got to hear me. And I'll give you another hint. If you try to be right, you won't win. Is everybody ready for that? We had some right conversations this morning before everybody got here. And some of you are still dealing with it. You were mad when you got here because somebody was trying to be right in your household. You can't be right and have a relationship. And this is what James is going to tell us. So we have to think about that. Do I want to be right or do I want to have a relationship? I'm saving you right now. I'm saving you because this is really where we are when it comes to, even in America, we have so many people who want to be right. So the rights are over here and the wrongs are over there. And so we have this division that is happening in schools and across our nation. We got to be really careful, and it happens in the home all the time. Because one of you has to be right. Is that not the way it works? But that's not going to work in a relationship. And so James tells us what works and what we need to do. First of all, you need to be quick to listen and slow to speak. You just need to quit talking. Guys, let me help you here. Because your wife is talking, that doesn't mean that she wants you to fix that. Do you understand? Because sometimes she'll be talking and you're thinking in your head, well, here's what I would do. We don't want you to say, here's what I would do. They just want to talk. Let them talk. My teenage daughter, she does this to me all the time. I don't know why she wouldn't listen to me. Do you understand? I'm the parent. I'm the old guy. I got this bucket of wisdom sitting around. You know what I'm talking about? Like I just reach in there and say, look at there. Look at there. And I tell her everything in life. I can tell her everything in life. And why was she listening to me? I don't understand. And so this is what I'm saying. I finally did this the other night. And the only problem I have at my household that my daughter and my wife are night owls. They want to start talking at 10 o'clock at night. I'm like, I am gone, man. I am gone. The dogs are even gone. Everybody's gone. And so I'm like, okay, 10 o'clock. So Faith, my daughter Faith, will come in and she wants to have a deep conversation. And I'm like, if I just make noises over it, will that work? Or can you write it down? Can you like email it or text it to me? Put it in a TikTok. I don't know. Something. You know, she said, but she's not wanting to be fixed either. She just wants to be heard. So at some point, you have to be quick to listen and slow to speak. And we don't have to fix everything, but we just want to be heard. We just want to be understood. And that's the way I think everybody is. That's why Facebook and social media is working. We may never agree. Think about this. We may never agree, but listen to me. That's what we want. This is going to be hard a little bit getting into James, because when it comes to relationship, it's not about right. And you never win being right. And it's not about that at all. It's about the relationship. The relationship's above all things when it comes to what we need to be doing. And you'll see this in just a moment when he walks into this. So we all want to be heard. We understand that. You know, we all want to be like somebody's paying attention to me. I want you to make sure you understand me. We may never agree. You're not going to agree on parenting. You're not going to agree on relationships. You're not going to agree on work. You're just not going to agree. And the reason being is you're just born that way. Okay, we're just not going. Everybody in this room thinks they're right now. Do we not? You want to say it to each other? Just look at each other and say, I'm right. Go ahead, say it. I'm right. And husbands, you say, yes, ma'am. You are. Because you can't win trying to be right. You will never have a relationship. And this is what James was seeing in the culture, that people were all trying to be right. And there's a lot of things happening. He says that's never going to work. It's never going to work. James was the brother of Jesus. He was called James the Just. And this is where we get the scripture from. Quick to listen, slow to speak. And that's going to happen the next 3 or 4 weeks. Now, we'll deal with your words next week. But let's see if we can learn to listen this week. So James, if you imagine being the brother of Jesus, somewhere around, I'm guessing at this, okay? So Jesus comes to James, and he says, at 12 years old, he says, I'm the Son of God. Right. I tried this with my brother Brian. It's not working. I said, I'm an angel sent from heaven just for you. That's not working. And so what I'm telling you is that this is a little bit hard to figure out for him, that, okay, I'm dealing with. Now, what really helped James is when Jesus was crucified and he came back on the third day and they had breakfast on the beach. That really helped. That really helped. You were that guy. So James takes over downtown Jerusalem after all of this has happened. He's the pastor downtown, and so he's seeing in the culture, everybody's trying to be right. How can we all be right and have relationships? So he begins to write this down and tell us what we need to be doing. So that's what he was doing. He said, my dear brothers and sisters. Does that cover everybody in here? Take note of this. In other words, write this down. Pay attention. And if I were you, I would pay attention to what's happening right now in this message. Just listen up. Quick to listen. Don't say a word. Just listen. Everyone should be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry. This is the first thing that happens most of the time is somebody starts telling you their opinion. Somehow it makes us mad. Somehow it's as if I don't want to hear what you have to say, but I want you to hear what I have to say. And James says, being right you will not have a relationship. It will ruin your marriage. It will ruin your relationship at work. Everything, because you have to be right, won't work. And he's trying to tell this to all of us as we get into this, and you see this happening. Quick to listen, slow to speak. You don't have to say anything when you're listening. You don't have to say a word. You can just grunt. Just, man, you're good at that. Just grunt. Let them know I'm in. I'm here. You know, maybe repeat some words back to them that they had said to you to let them know that you are listening. We're not asking for a response. We're not asking you to fix us. We just want you to hear us. And this is what James was trying to tell us about the relationship, how important it is that we're quick to listen and slow to speak. How important that is as we get into this. I'm going to save all your marriages. Is everybody good? We're going to do a little save part at the end, and you'll see what I'm talking about. But I'm going to save all your marriages right now, okay? And this is something you need to do. When your wife gets to 25,000 words and she's done, guys, look at me. Say, tell me more. I'm telling you right now, it's going to, tell me more. When somebody is trying to express to you what they're thinking, they're trying to communicate. I want to be heard. You need to say, ask questions, do what you need to do, because what you're trying to do is trying to find out why you don't think the way they do. Have you ever had that happen? Is there anybody in your house that thinks differently than you? Anybody? A teenager? Somebody? I hadn't figured it all out yet. I'm trying to do my best to listen, but I'm figuring it out. But I'm telling you, these words, saying these things, tell me more. Because I'm trying to learn. Here's the premise of what's happening. First of all, James doesn't want anybody to lose a relationship over somebody who's trying to be right. Because you want to be right, you want to be right, nobody wins. That's not how he wants this to work. But when it comes to your words, and you want somebody to tell you how they think, listen to them, because you don't know why they think the way they do. This happens all the time, and James knew it. You can write the person you love right out the door. I can write my teenager right out the door. Am I smarter than she is? Well, sure I am. She doesn't say that. She actually says, you're not that smart. I know y'all have had that. I got the bucket of knowledge over here, hanging on to it. But you can write them. You can write your marriage into divorce court. You can write your teenager right out the door. Do I have to be right? I mean, I know I have the bucket of knowledge, and I've been around longer than you, and your frontal lobe has not developed yet. Okay, I got that. And I can tell sometimes that it hasn't developed. But I'm telling you, do I have to be right? You see, or do I want the relationship? And this is what James was seeing is happening in the culture, that people were trying to be right. This is what's happening across America. We have the right, we have the left, we have the this, we have the that. And all of a sudden there's a division that is happening. I don't want to lose my daughter because I want to be right. I don't want to lose my marriage because I want to be right. I don't want to lose my friends because I got to be right. Can I hang out with people that are different from me? Can I hang out with people who have different views than I have? And James says we can, because it's the relationship that overrides all things. It rides all things. Jesus Christ is the most important thing they will ever know on this earth. Whether they're right or not has no bearing. And you'll see this as James walks through. So are we listening yet? Are y'all hearing what I'm saying? Are you paying attention? Because some of you need to stop trying to be right, because you're never going to win. My dear brothers, sisters, take note of this. Everyone should be quick to listen and slow to speak and slow to become angry. The first thing that happens is you want to be mad. I don't know why we're this way. Somebody disagrees with you or thinks that your way's not right. Well, what I would like to know is, what are you thinking? And why are you thinking it? And just listen. I had a man come to me 10 years ago, I want to say. I can't remember. The bucket of knowledge is not working. Somewhere around 10 years ago, I had a man come to me, and here's what he said. I want you to show you how this works. So here's what he said. He said, the people at Marathon are talking about me. So the first thing I do is I want to rise up. I want to go like redneck a little bit. I'll tell you right now, our people will never talk about anybody, would we? You see where I am? And we would never Facebook anything that is not true. So he kept, and what I noticed as the story, he kept saying the same things over and over, and then he would say, this isn't the only church that's done this to me. So I had to figure out, okay, how do I win? Do I win by being right? Or am I going to win by trying to make the relationship work? So it's not about the right. It's about the making of the relationship. It's what James is trying to tell us. So I said to him, after hearing this story, so, you got to think for a minute, how am I going to win? Because I don't want to, he doesn't come to Marathon, never has. But it's not about where he goes to church. The whole thing is about Jesus Christ. Do I know him? And am I going to do anything that's going to push him even further away? Obviously, 2 or 3 churches has already pushed. Obviously, he didn't get the answer he thought he should get. I am not going to win by bowing up and telling him none of our people have ever done that. So I said to him, here's what I'm going to do. I haven't heard anything, but when I hear something, I'm going to shut it down. How about that? And it calmed him down. I don't know what he was trying to figure out. I do know that he was trying to be heard and not be corrected. I'm not going to win being right. I'm not going to win being right. You see, it's about the relationship. Anger is what happens to all of us. It's drawing hasty, misinformed, relationally destructive conclusions. This is what happens when you saw this. She actually didn't say anything, but he concluded that she was saying things, and he got angry. This is what happens when you're not listening. This is what happens when you're not listening. You draw conclusions that are not there. You assume things that are not there. And then you get to this part where I have to be right and you're wrong. And this is what happens to all relationships. Most people that can't make it in marriage, it's because everybody's got to be right. I don't want to write my marriage out into divorce court. I don't want to write my children out the house. It's not worth it. James says it's not worth it when it comes to your relationships. You could change your whole life if you didn't think that you had to be right all the time. It would change who you are and change what you do. The more you listen, the more you learn. This is why James is asking us. Why do people act the way they do? We have this, we got Martians now, y'all notice? I'm not sure exactly, I haven't seen any green men or anything, but there's people that actually believe in this, right? I mean, there are books, there's all kinds of stuff. I'm not saying nothing. I'm just listening to what they're saying, but they believe it. And what I would love to do, and this is what James is saying, is sit down with those people and let them tell you why they believe, without you drawing a conclusion, without you becoming angry or having to interject your opinion. This is what he's saying. The more you listen, the more you learn. The more you learn, and the less angry you become. The more you listen, the more you learn. Ask your teenage daughter, like, what are you thinking? And just stop. I wish sometimes, and all of us wish our teenage daughter would come to us and she would say, oh, great one, Dad, would you bring out the bucket of wisdom for me? Would you tell me about life? And I start telling her about life, and then she stops and she says, Daddy, tell me more. Okay, I'm living in a fantasy world. Little green men have just shown up. I'm just telling you, but if you're not listening, you won't know. You assume certain things, and you think certain things, but if you're not listening, you will lose the relationship. And the less angry you become, if the more that you listen and the more you learn. This is so cool. Everything everyone does makes sense to them. Is that correct? You did things this morning that make sense to you, right? This is just like, listen, do you know the lady who put gas in a trash bag? It made a lot of sense. I mean, you could work it out. Like, that's pretty cheap. You can carry gas in a trash bag. And if you did that in here, I want to apologize. If you're watching online, I love you. I'm just talking. We're just listening right now. Some things don't make sense to you that make sense to everybody else, but you make sense to you. You think everybody else should do what you do because you are right and they are wrong. How wonderful is that? Now think about this. Everybody does make sense to themselves. And also, this is another one. Everything everyone says makes sense to them. Is that not true? So whatever you say makes sense to you. And you can't figure out why everybody else is not like you. Isn't that an amazing thing? But this is why James says you need to listen first. Pay attention to what's happening. Listen to what they're saying. I don't know why they would. I do this all the time. If you hadn't done it in the last year, you're living under a rock. Because here's where it is. I don't know why they would do that, say that, believe that. That's what we're saying. Have you watching the news? I can't believe somebody would do that. I can't believe somebody would say that. Let me give you something that'll help you, okay? Here's the answer to that, all of that. You ready? Here it is. I don't know. There's the answer. How do you find out? You listen. You listen. Tell me why you believe the way you do. Tell me why you're on the right. Tell me why you're on the left. Tell me why you're in the middle. Tell me. And listen. This is what James is saying. Because it's not about the right or the wrong. It's about, listen very carefully, it is the relationship that we're after. I don't want to write my daughter out of the house. I don't want to write my marriage into a divorce court. I don't want to write my friends right out of my life. Some of you don't have many people in your life. It's because that you are probably right. Did you know that? You're just right. And they're just wrong. And that's how you live. James says the relationship is the most important thing. Stephen Covey, this was something I read years ago. There's like 7 habits. I'm glad they're not 10. I would have a hard time. But 7 habits of highly effective people. And it still works. These things still work. But the habit number 5 is this. Seek first to understand and then to be understood. Seek first to understand. Don't speak. This is what happened with that man that walked in and says, your people are talking about me. The more I let him talk and I back up, just let him talk. The more he began to reveal all the things that are happening to him, and you could see a little bit why he would think people were talking about him. But I didn't have to win. I didn't have to say Marathon's not like that. Our people would never do that. I didn't have to do that. I wanted to win. I wanted the relationship to give him a chance. And so this is what he's talking about. Seek first to, understand, then to be understood. So you have to think, when you look at these things, what is happening with your relationships and what's happening with you? Are you talking more than you're listening? 100%. Everybody in here is right. I love it. We're all right. We just are. We talk more than we listen. And James says that's what's wrong with your relationships. He says this, because human anger does not produce righteousness. Your human anger is this. Human anger is this. He's talking about that you didn't get your way. If you win an argument with your wife, guys, who wins? Nobody. You can't win. You can't win being right. That's what he keeps telling us over and over again. Human anger does not produce righteousness. It produces rightness. Your rightness, not righteousness. Your rightness. Human anger produces rightness for you. And the reason you're mad is because you think you're right and they're wrong and nobody's listening to me. And this is what's happening over and over and over again. And James picked up on it and he said, this is what we're going to do. He said, you're not producing the things that God desires. So God desires a relationship. I know I'm right. Here's how you think. I know I'm right. I want you to know I'm right. I want everyone to know I'm right. So you can Facebook that. You really can. And then you wait for a like button. Isn't it great to get liked? Even when, think about this. What are we doing this for? Because we want to be right or we want to be liked? I've never seen so much division because of this thing. We are all trying to be right. Look at where we are. Look at our schools. Look at America. Look at your house. Look at our friends. What is happening? They're making us even think about who we should be friends with and what we should say. And James says this isn't about any of that. This is about the relationship. Over and over again, he keeps saying it over and over. I want you to be right at each other. This is what you want. You want to be right at each other. That's what we do. I want you to know that I'm right and you're wrong. That's just what we do. God wants you to be right with each other, not at each other. This is the difference in what a Christian would do and what James is telling us and what God has put in us is that we're to be right with one another. It doesn't matter what color skin you have. It doesn't matter what political affiliation you have. It has no bearing on the relationship because it is Jesus Christ that changes the life. Jesus Christ is going to change everything about a person, and the relationship is the most important thing. It is not about us being right. And that is what James has been saying to us. He's been saying it over and over again. Jesus did not come to be right, but to reconcile us to God and one another. Jesus didn't say, "You wrong." He didn't do this. He came and gave his life to reconcile us to God. Why? Because of relationship. And to one another. Why? Because of relationship. Do you see how important the relationship is? It's more important than what I believe or think or I have to be right. It's more than that. And this is what James keeps saying over and over again through this whole thing. Therefore, get rid of. Let me help you real quick and we'll be done. Because this is I took Greek in college. So I'm not recommending anybody do that. I did it one time, and it was good. Whatever. I learned all these stuff. I won't even go there. But therefore, here's what this, in Greek, I'll tell you what it means. Get rid of. Get rid of. What rid of means is taking a jacket off. In the Greek, it means to take a jacket off. So I want you to get rid of, get rid of all that. Take that stuff off. Take off the right jacket. Is what he's saying. I want you to take off the right and lay it down. Lay down the right jacket. And he says, all moral filth and evil malice. And I'll put malice in there because that's really it's a little better word for us to look at than just evil. But what will happen if you don't take off the right jacket, then it becomes an issue. It becomes a division. It goes really deep morally. And all of a sudden, you're watching what's happening right now. You would think he wrote this today. Over on this side is the rights and over there are the wrongs. And we can't hang out with people. He said it'll go really deep if you don't take off the right jacket. It will go morally deep, so deep it'll come into your household. And it will divide you, it'll divide your family, it will divide the nation, and this is what will happen. He said, and the malice that is prevalent. He said that it turns from evil to malice. In other words, I'm going to get you. And this sounds just like where we are. I'm going to get you. If you don't take off the right jacket, then it's going to be a moral issue, and everybody's going to want to get everybody. And I'm going to fire here, and I'm going to fire there, and I don't like this, and I don't like that. And James says, why don't you listen and save the relationship? Can you be with people you don't agree with? Yes, you can when it comes to the relationship. It overrides all things. It overrides everything. And this is, watch this, and humbly accept the word planted in you, which can save you. Not for later, but for now. So I'm going to save your marriage. I'm going to save your relationships. I'm going to save your friends. Listen. Listen. And speak later. It's not about being right. So here we go. We are more important than me. You are more important than me. This is, when we started our church, I got just a few seconds here, a few minutes. When we started Marathon, we had to have a thought of this. This is 100 years ago, whenever it was. We had to have a thought. All right, do I play my music that I like, or do I play music that they would like in order to get them to come to know Jesus Christ? This was the early days. And so we had to decide just for a moment, looking at who is more important. You are more important than what I think. You are more important. We are more important than me. And so this is how James put it down. You are more important than me. The relationship is more important than being right. So I have to ask you that. So was everybody right today, or what was it? That's what usually happens. So I'm going to give you something. Y'all stand with me, if you would. I'm going to give you some homework. You can do this on the way out. This is going to be so much fun. I'm going to see how this happens. Let's say we're not going to speak, but this. You go first. You go first and see what happens so we can learn to listen. And that's what James is telling us. The relationship is the most important thing. And don't ever forget that. Let's pray together. Father, thank you for what you're giving us. Thank you that we know that we need to listen, that the relationship that you brought to us is the most important thing. Thank you for being with us. We're looking forward to what you do even next week and what happens today on the way out. And we love you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.